Are you an owner of a Sony a7 III and curious about what lenses you should buy? Well, today I'm going to run through the lenses that I own and what I use them for to hopefully help answer that question for you. So let's do this. What's up, YouTube? If you own an a7 III and are curious about what lenses you should buy or what you should be looking into, I hope to kind of help answer that question by running you through the different lenses that I own and what I use them for. Now, I do want to preface with the fact that these aren't full reviews for these lenses. Some of these lenses I do actually have full reviews for, and I'll link those up as I go. But there are a couple lenses I haven't reviewed yet. So if you're wanting a review on some of these lenses that haven't been reviewed yet, consider subscribing to the channel because I will be doing these in the near future. Without further ado, let's get into it. So the first lens to mention is the Rokinon 24mm f2.8. These are right at $280 at time of filming. This is one that I'm going to be doing a full review on, but really great wide angle lens. My use cases for this is for obviously any wide angle shots. This lens is pretty much what lives on my camera when I'm using my gimbal. One, because of the fact that this autofocus is amazing. Having something that's affordable with a great autofocus like this, I say it all the time. It's a no-brainer. You really, really need to consider this lens for wide angle. The full review will be coming up on this lens, but the use cases I have for it is gimbal work as well as vlogging. Great vlogging lens. Now, we will talk about some pros and cons for this lens in that full review. That's the first one on the list. The second one on the list is the one I'm shooting on right now. It is the Tamron 28-75 f2.8. Now, if you are a photographer or videographer with a Sony full frame system, about a year and a half ago, this was the lens that you could not get your hands on because it was so popular. This is an amazing zoom lens. This is my all-around lens. I cannot say enough good things about this lens. This is my utility lens, one that stays on my camera when I need to pick one lens to take with me that day. This is it. This lens alone was the biggest inspiration why I started doing more night photography, more night videography. Just really love the way that this lens handles low light because of that 2.8 aperture mixed in with the a7 III low light capability. So good. I'm like refraining myself from saying fire because somebody judged me saying something was fire the other day, but it's fire. Honestly, my use case for it is the fact that it is my all-around lens. It's my YouTube studio lens. When I'm going out with one lens that day, this is the lens I'm taking. And again, a full review is coming out for this lens here in the near future. Now, that being said, with a full review coming, I will go ahead and say if you are on a Sony full frame system and trying to upgrade from the kit lens, 100% look at this lens. This is an amazing lens for the price. So Tamron 28-75, definitely one to check out. Great all-purpose lens, my utility lens, as I said before. So these last few lenses I've actually done reviews on. So I will be linking the reviews in a card or at the end of the video or description. Basically, like I said before, anywhere there's a link, I'm gonna put a link to the reviews for these lenses, so please check them out. That being said, next lens on the dock is the Canon 50mm 1.8. I literally just did a review on this. An amazing lens. Now you may ask, why did you not go with Sony? I answered that question in that video. So if you're curious why I did not use the Sony 1.8, go check that out. It's basically answering why I went with the Canon version. Primarily has a lot to do with budget and the fact that I don't need the autofocus. This lens is my low light lens. If I'm doing night photography, which I do a lot, if I'm doing night video, which I do a lot, or if I'm doing something more moody, I'm using this lens. It's an amazing focal length. I think everybody should own a 50mm or 50mm equivalent. Low light, amazing. Focal length, amazing. I don't use it for everything. I like my zooms, but that being said, this is a great lens to consider. 51.8, whether it's Sony, whether it's Canon, I definitely encourage, if we're talking again about like buying guides, I think everyone should own a 51.8 or equivalent to a 51.8. So if you're on crop sensor, potentially like a 35.1.8. Next lens. Next lens on the list is the Helios 442, which is a 58mm f2 lens. I cannot say enough good things about the image and the vibe that you get from this lens. It's honestly just so easy to get a cinematic look out of your video, a nice soft tone in your photos, to where it's not looking like you're taking these with a digital camera. Just an amazing image that comes out of it. I used it when we went trick-or-treating this past week, and it just looks like I'm taking video from like the 1980s, and just warms my heart. I just want to sit here and nuzzle this lens. Like I love this lens. You can pay anywhere between like $30 to $100 for the Helios. It really is all over the place. I spent about $70 on mine just because I wanted a pretty decent condition on mine. But if you just want to test it out, play around with it, go find one that's like 30 bucks. You'll be fine. Maybe. Hopefully. All right, coffee break. The last lens in my arsenal is, boom, this bad boy. Canon 70-200 f4. Now this is the f4 model. This is big, and this is not even the f2.8 model. Now if you want low light, check out the f2.8. I use this for so many different things. Now I realize I just talked about Helios like we were dating or something, but this is often just my pride and joy. I love this lens. I actually don't use it as much as I used to now, just because, like, I don't know. I love my lenses way too much. I have a review on this as well. I'll link that up in the card. I use this in a lot of different scenarios. I use this for moon photography. I use this for tight B-roll when I want those like punched in shots, and I love those punched in shots. I used this a couple weeks ago for a wedding. And so I stood at the back of the service and just sniped my way into their hearts. I wish I could show you some of the footage I got from that wedding, but it's not my footage. It was for a buddy of mine. I do have a Fotodiox 2x extender. Partnering that, actually, you know what? I'm gonna throw up a picture. We had a huge spider in our backyard, and I'm sorry for anybody that has a phobia of spiders, but I'll put that up because I basically, what I did to get this shot was insane. I mean, not necessarily insane, but it was pretty crazy. I used this lens with my 2x extender with some macro tubes on it. That focus was so razor thin, it was so hard to get, so some of them came out really awful. It was a really cool way of taking just like photos of a spider and really close. I said in my review of this lens, the reason why I chose this over the Sony version is honestly price. You can argue image quality, but price was a big thing for me. When I bought it used, it was about half the price of any Sony versions I could find used. This is the IS version, and I would say if you can spend a couple more $100, I would buy the IS version, just from the fact that if you're doing video, obviously that's a no-brainer. You won't get as much camera shake. But even if you're doing photos, being able to handhold this a little bit more and not have to worry about tripods, especially with this telephoto focal length, it's going to become more apparent when you have camera shake in your photos even. And so buying the IS version is definitely worth it. For the first like 6 months, the adapter I was using was not transmitting IS. So I can speak to that from experience. It's not the best without IS. It's doable. You just may be using more tripods, monopods. I would say if you can spring for the IS version, definitely do that. So that's a kind of a quick look at the lenses that I own and why I use them. So my hope is that running through these lenses gives you some clarification as a Sony full frame user, what lenses you should be considering, why you should be considering them. But let me know in the comments below if you guys would be interested in a full video of how I go about choosing what lens I should buy. You know, being a budget videographer, photographer, I take so much time in thinking and processing of what lens I should buy next, because every lens is money out of my pocket and money out of this small budget that I have to use. Also, while you're in the comment section below, I mentioned that the Rokinon and the Tamron are two that I have not done reviews on. Let me know which one you prefer I do next. Is it the Tamron 28-75 2.8 or is it the Rokinon 24 2.8? Let me know in the comments below which one you would prefer next. So that's it for me. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. That really does help the video. If you're digging the content coming from the channel, consider subscribing. Thank you guys for joining. I'll see you here next time. Go and find your journey. Go embrace life. Peace. Today's which this was just a perfect scenario. These are around, how much are these? I don't even know how much they are right now. You know you're in the South when you're drinking coffee out of a mason jar. So good. But here's what I run into a lot. I have the Helios 442, which is sitting at a 58 f2. Let me say that again. Hold, please, looking this up. Rokinon 25mm. Rokinon. I don't even know what I just said then. I did not say Rokinon 24mm. Can I tell you right now that it is officially really cold in North Carolina, which is why you're getting a hoodie on today, because I've been doing this video and shooting this video for about an hour now, and I'm still not hot. It's very cold. However, ironically, I'm wearing shorts.